Hi, very good afternoon to you. It's Gene from maverickstar Observatory. It has been quite a week, hasn't it, guys? You know, for a lot of people that have been following us for a while, I think the reality must have at some point this week with the videos that we've covered must have hit home. And I can imagine for some people that has hit home, you know, pretty hard. You know, you couldn't write a book and you couldn't produce a movie that would describe what it is we're actually going through. And it is no longer speculation, is it? I mean, we have to accept the facts are what they are. We know where we are in the Milankovitch cycle, going back into another glacial period. We may well have already surpassed the thermocline and things could accelerate from here on out. And you know, we are still yet to see some equilibrium in the grand solar minimum, because the last 35 years have showed us that the sunspot activity has continued to drop off and doesn't show any signs, even at this point of the cycle, of you know, reaching some form of equilibrium. And then we have, you know, within the last month, maybe not even the month, but we have surpassed that 40-degree mark where, you know, the magnetic North Pole could exponentially begin to increase, covering more distance in less time. Like I said, you couldn't write a book about it, and I'm not surprised many people are in disbelief when they see some of the videos that we produce. And you know, we are using, you know, facts, evidence. You know, none of this is speculation. It's all based on facts. And even though it is based on the facts, scientific evidence, it is still hard for it to sink in with some people. And I completely understand that, because, you know, I've had it described to me, what you're talking about, Gene, is very sobering. Because you're presenting these things with evidence to support what you're talking about. And for a lot of people, you know, that is like having, you know, those warm coverings when you're in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, fast asleep, taken off you and being exposed to the cold around you. It's a bit of a shock. You know, if we look at the history of the countries where we live, you know, it sometimes amazes me. I mean, if you look at America, let's say the history doesn't go back for the modern America more than 250 years. We knew that there was Native Americans on that territory, and, you know, how long they'd been there is not in my expertise. But we know they weren't there in the sort of quantities or numbers that they're there today. I think it's 300 million people in America. How the hell has America managed to, you know, equate to 300 million people in just a short space of time? You know, when we look at the UK, you know, we've got about 65, 70 million people here in the UK. Very much smaller territory. But our history goes back before Christ. Over 2,000 years. What I'm talking about is there must be a reason for why, when we look at some of the continents like Australia, the natives were the Aborigines, and America, the natives were the Cherokee Indians, and, you know, those sort of people from different tribes. But the point is that, you know, we all came from, you know, around Eurasia, or you know, the African continent, or that surrounding area. Originally, we know that from, you know, studying science. But what I was thinking about this morning, I don't mind sharing some thoughts with you guys, because, you know, we've got a few days before we do the magnetic North Pole, and that is the next, you know, major step forward for our observatory. Keeping people informed of the geomagnetic pole migration is very important to us here at the observatory. It's our primary objective. But you can't help, and all the other governments are talking about what's going on, but laugh sometimes when, they need, when they get it completely wrong. I'm on about 180 degrees wrong. It's like they say it's hot, but really it's cold. They say it's global warming, but when we look at the Milankovitch chart, we're going back into a glacial period. The northern hemisphere will look like this image that we're looking at here, and that affects millions of inhabitants. But I can't help thinking, how did we end up looking so different? And yet we're all the same species. We're all able to still breed with, even the most different looking people. There's lots of things. Our eyes are different to some people in different parts of the world. Our skin is different. The colour of our skin is different. Yet we're all human beings. But what the question is I'm trying to think of is, how did, over the years, our DNA change so that, you get those obvious Asian looking eyes, or that obvious darker skin? And how did we end up with blue eyes here in the northern hemisphere, and white skin? How did all these things come about, and when did they start to come about? Because I'll tell you, can I be honest? I mean, I don't mind sharing some pretty bizarre ideas with you guys. Maybe, like, the studies of Zecharia Sitchin were true. Maybe the stories that, from those tablets in Iraq that was found, that date to the beginnings of the first civilizations on our planet, the Sumerians, what was written on those tablets, maybe that was true. Maybe we are genetically engineered at some point from a species off our planet, because can you believe it? That is exactly what was written on those tablets. And those tablets come from the very first civilizations. And they are talking about, humanoid beings coming from another world, Nibiru. I know some of you guys are going to love this now, but I don't mind talking about these things. But what can we do as scientists? We can't deny that is genuine. Those tablets were definitely found in Iraq, and that is our first literate society and culture. That's our roots, that's where we came from, and that's what the people at that time were saying, and that's what they believed. And maybe that's how we ended up with, the obvious genetic differences that we've got today. But, getting back to, the things that are changing in our world, it don't look good, does it? And I know it's going to be a real hard decision for people to make when they look at this map, and this is just an interpretation, this is just an artist impression, but it gives you an idea of what happens when our Earth goes through one of these cycles yet again. And our Earth definitely does go through these cycles. It is accepted by all the organisations and all the scientific bodies that the Milankovitch cycle has proven to be the best example of, what is responsible for these 100,000 year cycles. And why hasn't any mainstream media even mentioned it? You have to ask the question, why haven't they? But you know what, I did have the thought the other day, well, okay, let's look at exactly what they're doing. They're trying to stop us using electricity. Maybe that's because in the future, we have got to be more reserved about the amount of electricity that we use. They don't want us to eat so much meat. It's obvious, that industry is massively under attack, and maybe it's because they know that there won't be enough meat to go around in the future, because the grazing lands will dramatically be reduced. And all the other things that we see now accelerating in price. There is one, I don't know whether the right word is a conundrum, in all this, is that there are 8 billion people on this earth, and there never has been that sort of many people. And I know that there are a lot of people that say this earth is much bigger than what you think, and there's plenty of space for all of us, and we could add to that 8 billion. But we're just about to see the northern and southern hemispheres and that cropping land get shut down. And we have people for decades been starving in this world already, even when we enjoyed, real good climates that supported, fantastic agricultural production worldwide. We still had people that were starving. It shows as well that, whilst some countries are rich in abundance of food and, everyone is being fed there, in other parts of the world, we seem to neglect those that aren't. And, there's lots of arguments. Well, what do? Do you give them the equipment for agriculture? Do you show them how to do agriculture? Or do you just send them the food every year they need it? I think these are difficult questions. I think, it's always better if you help someone support themselves. But we haven't been very good brothers and sisters and neighbours on this planet to our own brothers and sisters, regardless of what ethnicity they fall in. We haven't been very good, have we? And we could have done a lot more. And I think if ever we're held accountable for our actions, we've got a lot of shame coming, because we had everything, all the resources, all the ability to do better than what we've did, and we've just squandered it, and along with it the opportunities to improve. I do not pat myself on the back or see humanity as striving and being good stewards of this planet, because I think what we've done to this point in time, on land and on the oceans, on shore, we've just literally treated it like a piece of toilet paper and wiped our arse on it. And in doing so, we have, before we've even discovered species, made them extinct as a result of our actions. If ever there was a conscious, and I believe there is in this universe, that is what most people would describe as the creator conscious, then I wouldn't be surprised if, after giving us such a wonderful, beautiful gift like this earth, it decides to, change things for us. Because we certainly do have the intelligence, but we do not have the logical reasoning to, act on that intelligence, do we? Come on, let's face it. Don't we all screw up? So yeah, beginning of the video I was talking about, you couldn't write a book and you couldn't create a movie with all what's happening and that movie not be considered sci-fi, unreal, is what I'm pretty sure that they would describe it as. Yet, it is 100% fact. Again, in the description over the last few days, I heard someone say we're not going back into a glacial period. That's ridiculous. Unbelievable, isn't it? Even after all the supportive evidence and facts that we've gone through over the last couple of weeks, we still have people denying it. There is no deny in this. It's coming. It's a guaranteed fact. The bookies wouldn't give you odds on it. It's happening, and there's nothing we can do about that other than, best prepare ourselves as best we can. That is the only way you are going to have some form of soft landing in this, is that if you are ready and you have taken it upon yourself to get ready. Because do not ever put your trust in the corrupt governments around the world when they can't from the start be truthful, because they don't trust us to know the truth about these things, because they think that we will, all of a sudden become zombies and problems for, the continuity of government. That's never going to happen. You're never going to be rescued by the government in a national crisis. Never mind an international crisis, because these three anomalies that are taking place right now are on the international scale. So, it's down to you guys, and it really is. It's your decision. You know what's coming, and if you live in one of these regions, you know just how it is going to affect you. Yes, like someone said in the comment section, England's gone, Ireland, Scotland and Wales has gone. All those northern European countries have gone. Just let that sink in. The real estate that white line covers is trillions and trillions of dollars or pounds, and it will be worthless, because most of us won't be around in 40,000 years, but this ice age will still be going on. In 60,000 years, this ice age will still be going on. In 90,000 years, it might just be coming to an end. If we're selfish today, we don't have to do anything at all. You know what? And that means even for our loved ones, our families, our wives, we don't have to think about them if we don't want to right now. Just look after ourselves as individuals. We come into this world on our own, we go out on our own, and if that's your philosophy on these things, then don't worry about all those loved ones around you. Just think of yourself. That wouldn't be my advice, but we know that that's the way a lot of people think these days. They don't think of others. They certainly don't extend from their household, charity. And we've seen that. We've experienced that on this channel. How many people out of thousands that watch the video see that this information is worth anything to them. To some of them, it isn't worth coffee. And yet they will go out later on this weekend for a meal and give that waiter a tip. Yet they won't help support this. They won't help what we do, which is, proactively with equipment, gathering information on CO2, atmospheric oxygen, the subatomic particles, the muons. We got magnetometers as well out there in other countries, and we have the TriMag system, which took 2 years to develop and build. We've got we've invested over a decade in this, and yet that is not even seen as worth a single cup of coffee. It's amazing. That's the life and the world that we are all part of today. These same people will have all the tax monies taken off them, and they got no control in that. They go to jail if they don't pay the taxes. Yet they will be taken. They will have thousands of pounds taken off them. Decision as to what they want to put their money into, which is of any value to themselves and others, they fail to do it. Again, we go back to the human condition. I can't understand why we are not seeing 98% of the people support our observatory instead of just, less than 1%. Why is it that way round? Why is it when something or someone is doing good, they're never given credit or rewarded for it? Why do we live in that world where people would rather see and hear a lie as opposed to see and hear the truth? People would rather gloat on somebody's misfortune in this day and age rather than be supportive and happy for their fortunes. That's the world we live in. I would like to see a change about that. But you know what? I don't think we're ever going to. You know, we're going to do the pole shift in 3 days' time. You know, the pinpoint location of that for you. And, you know, we may well, as well before then, do an Earth Health at a glance where we look at CO2, atmospheric oxygen, volcanoes around the world, active and latest magnitude of earthquakes, things like that. And of course, we carry a lot on the website for you guys if you want to go and have a look at exactly how much we do cover. There is a link down there if you want to help support us. It's up to you. Come on, surprise me. I'll say what I usually do. You have an amazing day. You take care of your loved ones, and as always, bye for now.